Reading through, so there are some Sundays where you're writing sermons and they end up being like just kind of fun. They're kind of fun sermons. Like I just like pull out cool illustrations and tell neat stories and make people laugh a lot. And then there are other times you're writing sermons and the truth is they end up being a little more academic. Today you're going to learn. And so I hope you're ready. I know it's cold. Hopefully you've had your coffee. I'm going to walk you through some deeper nerdy stuff, and it's good for you. And it's good for me, and we get to learn. This is, in fact, one of the things that we're going to talk about today is something that I have even wrestled with a lot in my own heart. We're going to begin by looking at Psalm 111, 1 through 10. I'm actually just going to read it to you, and then we're going to come back to the text here in a moment. It says this, Psalm 111, 1 through 10, great are the Lord's works. It says, I will give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart, in the company of the upright, in the congregation. Great are the works of the Lord, studied by all who delight in them, full of splendor and majesty in his work, and in his righteousness endures forever. He has caused his wondrous works to be remembered. O Lord, the Lord is gracious and merciful. He provides food for those who fear him. He remembers his covenant forever. He has shown his people the power of his works in giving them the inheritance of the nations. The works of his hands are faithful and just, and his precepts are trustworthy. They are established forever and ever, to be performed with faithfulness and uprightness. He has sent redemption to his people. He has commanded his covenant forever. Holy and awesome is his name. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and all those who practice it have a good understanding. His praise endures forever. May God add his blessing to the reading of his word. Man, when I read the Bible years ago, I remember the first time this kind of hit me. God is always portrayed as this really interesting thing, right? He's not really human. He's beyond. He is wholly other. He's not of this temporary stuff that is wasting away. In fact, there are really interesting words that they use to define God. Elohim is one. It's in Hebrew. It literally means a non-corporeal, so not physical, sentient, of mind being. It's like this wholly other thing. And the Bible is laden with these concepts that God is love, he is justice, he is mercy, he has all these wonderful attributes. He's not in need. He doesn't grow hungry. He's not in want. He doesn't need anything. But then the Bible is full of stuff, like we just read in Psalms, where God, though he doesn't want or need anything, he appears to say over and over and over again in the Bible, everybody tell me I'm great. Everybody tell me I'm awesome. Everybody tell me I'm amazing. Everybody tell me I'm great. Everybody tell me I'm amazing. Everybody tell me I'm awesome. And I don't know about you, but for me, especially early on in my faith, I'd read through this, and I'd think, how can God not need anything, yet all through the Bible, it sounds like he's needing to be praised. And the truth is, in our modern day and age, we don't like people who are always going, I'm great, I'm amazing, I'm awesome. Those people can grow quite annoying, actually. We're going to come back to that thought in a moment. I was reading Psychology Today here not long ago, and they had an article that stood out to me. And the whole point of the article was actually very, very interesting. It is this idea that all of humans, so our breed, the language here, our type of thing that we are on the planet, we are inherently hungry to be busy. And it stands us apart from all the other creatures that are on this planet. In fact, listen to this. We are insatiably hungry to be busy, the article says, even to the point of starting fights. Like we just have to be active. We have to be active. The quote goes on, I'm going to read this to you. It says, a way in which we are different from other species is that we are the only ones to feel the need to be busy. Most lower order animals would presumably be perfectly satisfied to idle their time away. Give a lower order animal sufficient quantities of food, love, and shelter, and the animal will likely grow to be fat and happy. It's awesome. The animal would have no issues lazying about around and fretting away the rest of his life. How would humans react to doing such a thing? Well, with research and evidence, it's quite clear. Most humans would find such a life utterly, and I quote, miserable, to be about nothing. We are so obsessed with being busy. In fact, we like to talk and act as if we're busier than the people next to us. To the point where, we learn little things to do to make it appear that we are busier than we actually are. Have you noticed this? Like I was watching Seinfeld not long ago, and they were talking about how important it is to pull out your phone when you're walking around. And all you got to do is like give kind of a half-serious face and nod. So I can be standing in a line and look like I'm doing something really important. Yeah, okay, that's right. Like we learn to fake like we're busy all the time. We need everybody to think that we're really important and our activity is really necessary for you. We're obsessed with it. There's an interesting contrast to this a little bit. When you find humans at a place where they are not active or not busy doing things that they believe to be beneficial, they will actually find themselves very disillusioned. Very disillusioned. My parents, they traveled a lot. It's kind of funny. When we were young, my parents were just busy a lot. They're great people. I love them. So this isn't condemning at all. They were amazing people. But then after my brother and I left the house and moved away, they started like traveling the world. So like growing up, it was like grind. And now they're like party now that we're gone, right? So it's cool. I mean, they've been to Hawaii a bunch of times and traveled to Africa and they've just been all over the place doing their thing. And one of the places that they go in Hawaii on and off, they get to know people. So a lot of people in this condo that they stay in, a lot of the people are residents there, and many of them are retired folks from America that come over. And my mom said that over the last, 10 years of going there on and off, every year, every other year, of being there in Hawaii, get that right? As they're hanging out, a lot of the people that are there that are newly retired, it's like awesome. Retirement's awesome for the first like 6 months, and then the year, and then a year and a half into it, you're like, man, I miss my family. I miss being active. I want purpose. And then slowly she said, it's funny to watch the turnover. Like people will sell everything to move to Hawaii, and then after being there for a few years, they'll sell everything to move back. Right, to move back. Like we want to be busy. We want to have purpose. We don't want to just exist on the planet. And we think we want to do that, but as soon as we get it, I love the word that's used. We become, and I quote, disillusioned. This is really interesting. I was reading a little bit more of this. This was in a TGC, it's the Gospel Coalition. It's a group of pastors and ministry. They're talking about managing healthy churches, or what are healthy churches doing and what are unhealthy churches doing or not doing. And this is the quote. It said this: the church is one of the highest places, listen to this, the church is one of the highest places with disillusioned learners. Because people come week in and week out, and you sit here in the audience, and you'll listen to somebody talk about spirituality or faith, or you'll watch somebody do church or lead worship. And as you're watching this all play out, you don't participate in it necessarily, you just observe it. And this, though it may be kind of fun and relaxing and easier, it actually will produce a greater disillusioned follower of Jesus. Let me continue the quote. The less active you are in your faith, the more disillusioned you will become with yourself and your church. Missional living, and I quote, missional living creates spiritual appetite. If you feel spiritually void, so if you're going through a season in your life, you're going, man, I don't feel like I'm being fed at a level that I need to be fed. I just really want to grow. I don't know. I'm kind of spiritually hungry and I kind of feel like I'm in want. The answer, objectively, the answer is get your butt off the seat and participate in ministry. I said butt in church. Forgive me. Right? Is that okay? It's all right. And do something. And the funny thing is, the more active you become in your faith, it feeds the spiritual hunger, and you have a greater growing desire and hunger and appetite to be with God, and it gets satisfied. But it begins with the activity. The activity is the first step. The activity is the first step. Those people, and in this research, the people that are most likely to be disillusioned with the church are often the people that are the least likely to actually help with doing anything, right? Like, they're the observers. The problem in the church is when people then are, and this I'm talking church specifically, when people in the church are frustrated or not happy or disillusioned, they want to be active, and what we do is we find ourselves becoming highly active with things that aren't obedience. We kind of make up our own activities. Let me give you a few examples. It's like we honestly think when we get to heaven, Jesus is going to be like slow clapping. That's the guy. That's the guy. Everybody stand up right here. Here he comes. He's walking in the pearly gates. That's the guy. He fought to get the carpet red in that room. Praise the Lord. Everybody give it up for him right there. He's the guy that made it happen, right? I mean, we honestly think, some of the things that we fight over are utterly ridiculous. It's like, oh, that's it. That's the lady. That's the lady right there. She's the one. Everybody, all of heaven stand up. She convinced all the young adults to wear suits on a Sunday morning. That's what Earth was all about. Give it up right now for them. We honestly find ourselves so incredibly busy with things that aren't actually obedience. We are made to be an active being. We aren't just made to be an active being, we are made to be an active being that should be about the right kinds of activity. Well, this begs a really important question, and the question is this, one that C.S. Lewis has discussed many times in his literature in different places, but what is the activity that man is to be about? I love the way Francis Chan says it. He says it like this: the church is a lighthouse. This is in his book, Multiply. We are to show the light to the world. We are not a group of people huddled together waiting for this all to be over. We are not a group of people huddled together waiting for this all to be over. All right, I'm going to go back to the psalm. We're going to work through this, and I want to look at it through not just the historical context, which we often do. I want to look at it through so we have the historical, contextual, grammatical way in which we study the text. We also want to look at it not just the homiletic, but the hermeneutic. I know I'm throwing out big words. What we want to do is we want to ask the question, what does this mean for me today? So listen to how God describes, or how God is described in this text. Notice the words, all right? So we do find with God a glory hog. I'm great. I'm amazing. Look at me. I'm great. I'm amazing. Look at me. Listen to these words. I give thanks to the Lord with my whole heart. My whole heart given to this guy. And the company of the upright and the congregation, great are the works of the Lord. Whose works are great? The Lord's. Studied by all who delight in him, full of splendor and majesty in his work. And in his righteousness it endures forever. He has caused the wondrous works to be remembered. The glory is gracious and merciful. He provides food for those who fear him. He remembers his covenant forever. He has shown his people the power of his works and giving them the inheritance of the nations. The works of his hands are faithful and just, and all his precepts are trustworthy. They are established forever and ever to be reformed, and with faithfulness and uprightness he sent redemption to his people. He commanded his covenant forever. Holy and awesome is his name. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and all who practice it have good understanding. His praise endures forever. Maybe even a stronger way to say this, or sum it up really clear, is the Westminster Catechism, for those of you that have any history and church growth stuff. Or the Westminster Catechism says it like this: man's chief end is to glorify God and enjoy him forever. So the ultimate end, the ultimate activity, the main thing that we are supposed to be about, what we are to be busy doing, is literally glorifying God and praising him forever. This breaks down on a couple of fronts for us, and they're both really tied into our modern cultural context, okay? So I want to help clarify this. The first one that kind of falls apart on is we live in a very egocentric culture. Like when we think praise as in competition with the person next to us. We got to get more likes on Instagram. We got to figure out a more creative way to send that blog out. Our political perspective or side or bent has to, whatever it might be, right? We're in competition with the person next to us. In fact, growing up in the home that I did, my parents are amazing. My mom was a professional counselor, and then she even taught psychology at the university level for all of my memorable life when I was at home. And so I grew up around all of this. I'm going to say this very kindly. Mom, if you watch this, I love you. I say this with respect. Psychobabble, like all the time, right? Like just around all the time. So I grew up as a kid learning Maslow's hierarchy of needs, around the table. Where are we at? Are we able? We can't deal with those higher order things until we wrestle with these lower order things. Where do you think if I'm in a fight with a friend, where's your friend? I got to learn all this stuff as a kid. The mind and the dendrites and how they form and the whole. It was awesome growing up. Actually, it was awesome. I didn't enjoy it when I was there, but now looking back, I'm glad I did. But the ultimate end of humanity, according to this modern pop psychology ideas, is a phrase that it's self-actualization. Have you guys heard that? Self-actualization. That's the ultimate end for man. Have you guys ever taken the time to actually study what self-actualization actually is? Now, I pulled out a definition. I wanted to find one that wasn't so academic, so I found one that was more colloquial in its language, but it says this: self-actualization. This is a pretty good one, actually. Self-actualization, the achievement of one's full potential through creativity, independence, spontaneity, and grasp of the real world. So let me tell you how this plays out in America today. We believe that for us to find the most whole life, we have to be the truest that we can be to ourselves and be given the freedom and support to do so. But me being true to myself does change as I age, so I'm really true to myself at this stage in life, but then I got to be true to something different as I grow a little bit, so my trueness isn't consistent. But then the other difficulty is, as I'm being true to myself and I'm supporting my views and my ways, I discover that as I want more support, the next person who's equally being true to himself, their idea of good and beneficial is different than mine. And as we're both trying to pursue our view of what is good and just, all of a sudden we find ourselves bumping into each other. All trying to pursue what we believe is true to us within ourselves, right? And so then you have not one or two or 10 or 100 or 1,000, but you got a few billion people around this planet all playing little God, trying to convince everybody, look up here, I'm amazing, pay attention to me. My ways are just, my ways are good. A whole lot of little gods all fighting each other. Now there's another term for this. I did study philosophy, and I'm being very liberal with this term. This is so it's not exactly this, but there is nihilism, right? We have this like nearly utter chaos that's happening as a result of everybody trying to pursue what they think they ought to be, which is often in opposition to the person next to them. I told you had to think today. So the first problem is us. When we think praise, we think losing something to somebody else. The second big thing that we have is this: we don't understand the concept of praise as defined in the Bible. We often lose lots of stuff in translation. The second thing is, so to praise, biblically, to praise is to be in active support and to see the beauty in something. It isn't indulging in an egocentric person. It's participating in a greater beauty. That's what praise is biblically. Now, how do I come about this? C.S. Lewis probably walked me through it the best, though I've read a number of different authors. Now, hang on. The next 5 minutes or so, I'm going to work your brain out. I promise not every Sunday is like this, but for the next 5 minutes, I'm going to work your brain out. C.S. Lewis, in wrestling through how egocentric it appeared to be, God appeared to be in the Psalms, said this, okay? So this is Lewis thinking about the God who's always saying, look up here, look at me, look up here, look at me, and thinking about it in light of all the humans all trying to do the same. I'm amazing, let me have my freedom, I want to do what I want, even though my freedom stands next to you, I'm right, you're wrong, everybody, me, that attitude, right? He says this: we all despise the man who demands continued assurance of his own virtue. Intelligence and delightfulness. We despise still more the crowd of people around every dictator, every millionaire, every celebrity who gratify that demand. And then what he did is he took this reality and he applied it vertically to God. Now this was the part that he got wrong, and he sees this, we're going to quote in his later works, which we'll quote in a minute. This is a picture at once ludicrous and horrible, right? So Lewis is talking about, if this is the way God is, it's ludicrous and horrible. Both of God and his worshipers, it threatened to appear in my mind the way he worded it. And it took Lewis years to wrestle through what the biblical concept of praise was. Lewis goes on to say that over time he could finally see that a life lived fully is directly connected to our ability to see and enjoy beauty. God is not a needy old lady wanting support and praise, afraid that she's been forgotten. God is ultimate good. Think attributes: mercy and justice and love. And when God says, look up here, he wants you to see and participate in beauty and mercy and grace and love. Listen to how Lewis unpacks this. He says, the world rings with praise. I'm going to invite Josh up and we're going to be done in just a moment. The world rings with praise. Lovers praising their mistresses, readers their favorite poet, walkers praising the countryside, players praising their favorite game, praise of weather, wines, unless you're Wesleyan, then not that one, dishes, actors, motors, horses, colleges, countries, historical personages, children, flowers, mountains, rare stamps, rare beetles, even sometimes politicians and scholars, probably not today, but that's cool. Lewis began to unpack praise in a new way. See, for Lewis and for us today, praise is a limited quantity. If I get more attention, it's being taken off of somebody else. And so we're all fighting for this limited quantity of attention. But with God, it is not limited. He is the all-true maker. And not just all-true maker, he is also like the attribute fully expressed as love and mercy and grace. And to gaze upon God is to invite people in to a captivating beauty. Let me see if I can illustrate this. Help you wrap your minds around it a little bit. When I was in high school, I'd been junior high, actually, probably 8th grade, around that pocket, I went on my first ski trip to the mountains in Colorado. Anybody ever been to the mountains of Colorado? And I remember I jumped on a ski lift and I made my way up the side of the mountain. So you go up a little bit, then you hop off, you ski down to another lift, and you hop up, ski a little bit higher and higher. And I was an idiot. It's like greens, blues, blacks, double black, black diamonds. I mean, the whole thing. It's like day 2 I've ever skied in my life. I'm like, I can do it, right? So I just keep making my way up the mountainside, and I finally get off this lift. In fact, I remember the lift, the final lift that was taking me to the top, and we broke out of the tree line. If you've never seen this, you need to go somewhere where you can get high enough on a mountain that you get above the tree line. And so I'm riding the ski lift and it breaks through the trees, right? And we get up to the top and I get off and it's snowing, but the sun is out. It's snowy outside, obviously, we're skiing, and the sun is out. And so I hop off the lift and I come around the top of the mountain and I'm looking and I can see the sun like breaking through, the bend in the mountains, the little valleys off in the distance. I'm above the tree line. I can see for miles, man. I mean, it was like in that moment, the rest of the world turned off for just a second. I was captivated by creation. And not just was it beautiful, I wanted others to see it too. I remember the first time I went skiing with my wife. This would have been a number of years later. And we were engaged at the time. We weren't married yet, but we were on a ski trip together with a bunch of other people, and I took her up. And I wanted her so bad to see that sight. Or what about this? After a long, cold winter, how applicable is this, right? And you can feel the sad or whatever, the seasonal depression stuff that kicks in because nobody's been in the sun for a while, and when you do, you get a frozen patch on your forehead after a few minutes of walking. It's cool. And that first time you get to go on vacation, you go with your family to the beach, and you hit the beach after a long winter, and you just walk out, and you can feel the sand in your feet, and you haven't felt anything like that in a long time, and you walk out on the sand, and you stand there, and the sun just hits you. It's like perfect temperature, and you can hear the waves rolling up, and for just a brief second, it's like the off switch goes off to all the other madness, and you're locked into this beautiful moment. You see, for Lewis, he discovered that praise of God is not stealing attention from another limited thing. It is basking in the glory of ultimate hope and joy and love and mercy. It is good to gaze upon the creator of ultimate good. And not just is it beautiful, we want others to participate in this beautiful creating process itself. Let me give you another example. How good it feels to be forgiven. I don't know if you've ever done anything really wrong and been forgiven for it. I have. When I was engaged to my wife, I had a couple of years in school that I didn't do or say good things. I'll just leave it at that. I have a rap sheet. Maybe that's the way to say it. I mean, not like actual rap sheet, but I did stupid things. A number of really stupid things. And I got engaged to my wife, who was awesome and a much better Christian than I am. I mean, when we get to heaven, she gets the mansion. I'm going to be like in the shack, with the bin of fire out on the outside. It's cool. As long as I'm there, I'm happy. And I'm engaged to her, and as we're getting closer to the wedding day, it hits me, there's some parts of my life that she probably ought to know before we get married. And I wrestled with this internally in my mind. I thought, man, do I even want to share this stuff with her? And I felt so convicted in my heart, I was like, all right, I got to do this. And then I was mad at myself because I thought I should have shared this stuff with her long before we got engaged. Because if this goes bad now, I'm just going to feel super embarrassed. And I don't even know where to go. And so I thought, I'm just going to do it, Lord. I'm going to share the dark days of Mike's life. And so on a date, one night, I sat down and I just started down the laundry list of stupid Mike. It's a big list. Mike's got a lot of stupid, right down the list. I did this, I did this, I did this. I made this mistake, I've done this. And as I got further down the list, something happened in me, like I got really emotional. Like I thought it was just gonna be like a sharing and then wait and see what happens. But as I got down the list, like I started crying and I'm just sharing, just confession. I don't know that at any point until that moment had I ever just like confessed every crevice in my heart that I was aware of. And the more transparent I was, the more afraid I was that like I would be rejected. And I got to the end of the list, and I remember sitting there, and I just looked at her, and I'm like, all right, what's next? Am I going to get punched? Are you going to walk out? What's going to happen? And she reached up her arms, and she wrapped them around me, and she says, I forgive you, and I love you. Now makes me tear up. It's been years ago. Do you know how good it feels to be forgiven? I don't care how big, I don't care how strong you are. My whole life I've been around big monster burly athletes. Do you know how good it feels to be forgiven? It's like all that weight just taken off your shoulders, to be fully known and still chosen, to be fully known, every part of you, and still to be chosen. Because I want you to know those things too, I want you to praise God. I want you to taste that love. I want you to walk in that forgiveness. I want you to bathe in that beauty of being fully known and still chosen. I want you to taste love at a level that you've never tasted it. Not a love that is limited, but one that is growing and growing and growing. I want this for you. That's why it is good to give God the glory, because it is not a limited quantity. It is a limitless growing of these gorgeous attributes: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Growing and growing for forever in the wake of God's glory and grace. It is good to gaze upon God. And I want you to have that too. I want you to have it too. Yeah. Closing thoughts. I need to be done. I'm a little bit over time. Like mold or pollen, something's getting me today. Psychology Today, looking through all those different articles, putting it together, right, all different research projects. We are a people obsessed with being busy. Obsessed with being busy. Why don't we choose to be busy about the things that are gloriously good? So here's the next steps for you. I want you to do this. In fact, if you would, grab the Next Steps card, back of the chair in front of you, get it out. You can't just come on a Sunday morning to Trinity and listen to Mike talk and Josh play pretty music, though your music's pretty, I like it. You can't just listen to us do our thing. You got to think. You got to ask the question, what does this mean for me today? You got to filter through it. Pull out the Next Steps card. I'm going to ask a couple questions, okay? Get it out. Get ready. I'm going to make you think. I'm going to make you reflect, because I love you. Listen, Pastor loves you. The first thing I want you to do here is I want to say this. There are people out here today, you have been through a season. Listen, I know I just told you to pull that out. Now look up here again real fast, okay? A lot of you have been through a season, some of you have been through a season where you've just been in darkness a lot. Your heart is worn out. I mean, you're listening to this, you're going, I want to bask in the glory of God, but it just feels like I've been immersed in mud for so long. I want you to write this out on your card. God, let me see and sense your beauty. It is okay to pray that. God, let me see and sense your beauty. I really, really need it. It's okay to write that out. It's okay to pray that. It's okay to put your hand on top of that card after you wrote it out, and it's okay for you to close your eyes for about 10 seconds and just pray in your heart, God, let me see and sense your beauty. It is okay to do that. Let me see and sense your beauty. Open my eyes. Let me get a taste of eternity. The next thing I want you to do is this. Answer this question: who do I need to help see this beauty? Who do I need to help see this beauty? The truth is, see, the question is, why are we still here? Why are we still here? Why are we still on this broken planet with broken people, working in a broken world that's messed up? Why are we still here? You know what I want? I want the beauty maker to come and get me out of here. That's what I want. But I'm still here, and so are you. And we're here for a reason, because we're supposed to help others see this beauty too. That's your activity. That's your purpose. That's your mission. You are not first a doctor. You're not first a lawyer. You're not first a salesman. You are first a conduit of God's glory and grace. And so my question to you is, who do you need to help see this beauty? Who does the Holy Spirit bring to your mind? A neighbor, a friend, a sister, a cousin, a coworker? Who is somebody that desperately needs to taste forgiveness and love and mercy and justice and hope? Who is that person? Who does God bring to your mind? Write that name down. We We have prayer counselors. I'm going to have them come up now, if you would. If you're still writing, you can keep writing. The rest of you can stand up. That'd be great. Here's what we're going to do. And we're going to be done. I'm 5 minutes over. I need to quit. I got another service after this. Here in a moment, you need to know, I say this every week, our staff prays over all these cards. New Year's Day or New Year's Eve Sunday services are great because it's a lighter Sunday, so we don't have nearly as many cards to go over. That's a little easier for the prayer team. But we pray over all of these cards, even on huge Sundays. We pray over all these cards, all of them. So when you write down a name on there, somebody from our pastoral team stops and prays over that card. We love you. You are a part of our family. We are glad that you are here. And so here in a moment, if you would, man, and if you want to keep the card and pray over it yourself, you can do that. You don't have to do this. But if you would, if you feel like before the Lord, you're going, man, I'd like other people to pray over this name too. If you want to bring it forward and lay it in this box, or if you made a decision today to follow Jesus, anything, any prayer request that you have on that card, here in a moment, come and drop it off. But I'm going to add this to it, okay? If you are in a season where you really need, you're going, man, my heart is hungry to taste the glory of God, and it's been too dark for too long. Come and stop with one of our prayer counselors and pray with them. Do it. The second thing is this. If you've got a name on that card and you're going, I know this person desperately needs to see the glory and love and mercy of Jesus, but I don't know how it's going to happen, I challenge you to come forward with that card, with the name that's on that card, stop with one of our prayer counselors and go, hey, would you pray with me? This is my cousin. This is my neighbor. This is my friend. This is my uncle. This is my whatever it might be. Pray with me that God would help me be a conduit of his glory and grace. I'm not even sure how I'm going to do it, but I personally believe in the power of prayer, especially in community. And so come forward. If it's you and your spouse or whatever, a friend, however it is, you'll come forward and go, just pray with me over this name. Stop with their prayer counselor and pray with them before you drop the card off in the box. Or if you want to take the card back with you, you can. But we have prayer counselors that would love to pray with you. God, by your grace, I thank you for all that you've done. I thank you for fun, light sermons. I thank you for heavy, deep thinking sermons. I thank you for people, God, that are hungry for your work and your ways. Lord, I pray that you would drive us, call us, beckon us into your beauty, God. You want to display your glory for us, that we may taste how good you are, see how glorious you are, walk in love, experience mercy, taste forgiveness, the joy of love that is right and pure. I pray that you would open our eyes and help us to experience it, Lord, and then also I ask, God, that you would help us to display it for others. We are here on purpose for a mission. Let's be about the right activity. In your name, amen. We just want to thank you for watching the sermon online. If God is working in your heart, we would love to hear about it. You can go online, www.encountertrinity.com/nextstepscard. You can fill out information there. Let us know what God is doing in your heart. If you need help with anything, we would love to help. Counseling, we would love to do anything that we can to help you go to that next level spiritually. When you fill this out, it goes to one of our pastors. It is private, and we will take care of that information to the best of our ability. We love you, we care about you, and we want to see God do great things in your life. Have a great day.